During the Victorian era from 1837 to 1901, there were many customs and rituals during funerals. The Victorian era was a time of death due to high infant mortality rate and very low life expectancy. One of the biggest tasks for family members was to make sure that they got their loved one's soul into heaven. After a death, the family had many customs to follow to ensure that the spirit wasn't trapped within the house. Curtains were drawn, clocks were stopped, and mirrors were covered. People were very superstitious about spirits, so many rituals are dedicated to helping the spirits in the afterlife. Clothing was one of the most important aspects of the funeral, as each person had to follow a specific dress code. There was not only a specific dress code for funerals, but afterwards as well. Black was required for the family for the entire mourning period, which for the wife lasted 12 to 18 months. Gloves and ostrich plumes were worn, and for the women, long dresses. White was worn for the funeral of a small child, and 3 of 20 children died before the age of 1. The people of the Victorian era were extremely superstitious when it came to death, and they had a countless number of omens that warned and foreshadowed of death. Some examples of this are seeing yourself in a dream, seeing an owl during the day, a diamond-shaped fold in clean linen, and even large drops of rain. After the body is watched over for a short period of time, a funeral procession takes place. A funeral procession is a march with the body from where the body was kept to where it will be laid to rest. Victorian-age funeral processions were made up of black carriages drawn by horses, which were sometimes dyed to fit the somber mood. Professional mourners could be hired to march with the procession to add to the scene and make the person seem more popular. Funeral processions were also a bad omen, as it was rumored that those who crossed one would have a death in their family. The funeral itself was usually held at the house of the family members of the deceased. The family held a private viewing session of the body before the funeral even started, which made it extremely important for guests to arrive on time. Given that medical science of the day was not very advanced, families weren't always sure if their loved one was dead or simply in a coma. In order to not bury them alive, the body was watched over for 3 to 4 days while family members could arrive from long distances. When buried, a string was put through the coffin and attached to a bell, so if someone woke up, they could ring the bell and be easily dug up. After going through all this trouble to get their loved one buried, families had one more thing to worry about: grave robbers. Some of these fears were rooted in fictional literature, such as Robert Louis Stevenson's short story, The Body Snatcher. After reading the book, many people decided to build iron fences around coffins and even use double or triple coffins. There were many different inventions to ensure that lids of coffins could not be pried off to protect the people within.